There's a moment in life when you suddenly realize something uncomfortable. You're always the one who texts first. You're the one who checks in first. You're the one who makes the effort to stay connected. And strangely, no one seems to notice when you stop. One day, you simply stop reaching out. Not because you stopped caring, but because caring started to hurt more than silence. Psychology actually has several explanations for why some people quietly pull back from others. And the fifth reason might completely change the way you understand yourself. Let's explore 5 deep psychological reasons why some people stop reaching out. The first reason is something many people feel but rarely understand. For a long time, you might have been the person everyone relied on. The listener. The problem solver. The friend who always checked on everyone else. While other people shared their struggles with you, you carried your own problems silently. And eventually, no one noticed that you were the one who needed support. Researchers studying human behavior have described a response where some people deal with stress by caring for others instead of fighting or escaping from the situation. In simple terms, their instinct is to protect relationships and help people around them. But there is an important detail many people forget. That system works best when care flows in both directions. When someone keeps giving emotional support but rarely receives any in return, the mind and body eventually become exhausted. It's not laziness or indifference. It's emotional fatigue built over time. And that exhaustion is not only emotional. Your brain actually reacts to it physically. Neuroscience research has shown something surprising. When people are excluded from a social activity, even something as small as being left out of a simple game, the brain activates regions associated with physical pain. In other words, social rejection doesn't just feel painful. The brain processes it in a similar way to an actual injury. So if you eventually stopped reaching out to people who ignored you, your brain might have been doing something very natural, protecting you from repeated emotional pain. But that leads to another important question. Why does reaching out sometimes feel risky in the first place? Psychologists who study human relationships have found that our early experiences often shape the way we connect with others later in life. Some people develop a pattern where they hesitate to seek closeness. Not because they dislike connection, but because past experiences taught them that vulnerability can lead to disappointment. Over time, the brain creates a quiet protective rule. Don't reach out too much. It might hurt. This is not weakness. It's a survival strategy the mind builds after repeated emotional setbacks. Sometimes these patterns begin very early in life. Small moments of feeling ignored, misunderstood, or unsupported can slowly teach a child that depending on others might lead to pain. Those early lessons can quietly influence relationships for many years. But there's another layer to this pattern that people rarely talk about. For some individuals, expressing emotions in words can be difficult. Not because they lack feelings, but because they were never taught how to describe those feelings clearly. When someone asks, "What's wrong?" the honest answer may simply feel impossible to explain. So the easiest response becomes nothing. When emotions stay unspoken for long enough, asking for support also becomes difficult. And eventually, reaching out starts to feel unnatural. At this point, an important question appears. Is your silence something you chose, or something your mind slipped into automatically? From the outside, both situations look the same. A quiet person who stops contacting others. But internally they are very different. Sometimes silence is a conscious decision. You feel calm, clear, and aware that you are protecting your time and energy. Other times silence comes from emotional shutdown. In that state a person may feel numb, disconnected, or distant from others without fully understanding why. Recognizing the difference can be important. And if your silence is actually a conscious decision, then the final reason might be the most powerful one. Psychology suggests that human well-being depends on 3 important needs: freedom to make choices, the feeling of capability, and meaningful relationships. When someone stops reaching out, it may look like they're giving up on connection. But often the opposite is true. Instead of abandoning relationships, they start becoming more selective about where they invest their energy. they begin choosing who deserves their attention, time, and emotional effort. That isn't isolation. It's personal growth. You didn't stop reaching out because you became cold or uncaring. You stopped because your mind remembered every unanswered message, every one-sided effort, every moment when you showed up for others but no one showed up for you. You didn't stop caring. You simply stopped pretending that the imbalance didn't hurt. An understanding that can change how you see yourself. Maybe stopping wasn't the end of connection. Maybe it was the beginning of healthier ones. If this video helped you understand something about yourself, consider subscribing. There's much more psychology behind our everyday behaviors than most people realize. And in the next video, we'll explore another surprising question: why some people feel completely drained when unexpected guests arrive at their door.